Hello everyone, and welcome back to Horrifying Tales. I know many of you use these videos to help you fall asleep, so before you drift off, it would be great if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from. And if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Story 1. Let me tell you about the strangest night of my life. I don't talk about it often because, honestly, I'm not sure anyone would believe me. But I swear, every word is true. It happened a few years ago, on a crisp autumn night. I'd been on one of those long drives you take when your mind's too full and your heart's too heavy. You know the kind. Work was stressing me out. My relationships were falling apart, and I just needed to clear my head. So I hit the back roads, the kind where the trees arch over the asphalt like a tunnel, and the only lights are your headlights and the moon. That's when I saw the sign. It was old, faded, and barely visible, nailed crookedly to a tree on the side of the road. It read, "The Forgotten Carnival, one night only." An arrow pointed down a narrow dirt path that cut through the woods. I don't know what possessed me to turn down that road. Maybe I was just curious. Maybe I wanted a distraction. Or maybe it was something else. Something the sign itself was doing to me. Because as soon as I saw it, I felt this strange pull, like I had to go. The path was rough, and the trees seemed to close in tighter the farther I went. My headlights barely cut through the darkness, and every now and then I thought I saw movement in the shadows. But when I stopped to look, there was nothing there. After what felt like forever, I rounded a bend, and there it was, the carnival. It was nestled in a clearing, glowing with an eerie light. Strings of old-fashioned bulbs hung overhead, casting everything in a golden glow that somehow made the shadows even darker. The air smelled of popcorn, cotton candy, and something else. Something metallic, like rust or blood. The place was alive with sound, music, laughter, the hum of machinery. But as I got closer, I realized something strange. There weren't any cars, no parking lot, no sign of how anyone had gotten there. And then there were the people. They moved through the carnival like actors in a play, their faces illuminated by the flickering lights. But there was something off about them. Their movements were too smooth, too deliberate, like they were gliding instead of walking. And their faces, God, their faces, looked like they were smiling too much, like their mouths had been stretched just a little too far. I should have turned around right then and there, but I didn't. Instead, I got out of my car and walked through the gates. The first thing I noticed was the Ferris wheel. It towered over the rest of the carnival, its lights blinking in slow, hypnotic patterns. The seats were swinging gently in the breeze, even though there was no wind. "Step right up," a voice called out. I turned to see a man in a top hat and tails, standing in front of a booth labeled, "Test Your Strength." He had a waxed mustache and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "First visitor of the night," he said, clapping his hands. "Welcome to the Forgotten Carnival. Care to try your luck?" I hesitated. Something about him made my skin crawl. But before I could answer, he reached under the counter and pulled out a giant wooden mallet. "Come on now, don't be shy," he said, his grin widening. "It's all in good fun." Against my better judgment, I stepped up to the booth and took the mallet. It was heavier than I expected, and as I gripped it, I noticed faint carvings in the wood, symbols I didn't recognize. "Just swing as hard as you can," he said. "Let's see if you've got what it takes." I hefted the mallet over my head and brought it down with all my strength. The metal puck shot up the pole and rang the bell at the top. The man's grin faltered for just a moment, and I swear I saw something flicker in his eyes, something like fear, But then he clapped his hands and laughed. "Well done," he said. "You've got some strength in you, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the carnival." He handed me a ticket, plain, unmarked, and slightly warm to the touch. I wandered deeper into the carnival, passing booths and rides that seemed straight out of another time. There was a carousel with painted horses that looked almost alive, their eyes glinting in the light. A ring toss game where the bottles were made of some strange, black glass that seemed to absorb the light around it. And the people, they moved around me, laughing, talking, playing games, but none of them looked real. Their eyes were glassy, their skin too smooth, their laughter too perfect. At one point, I passed a mirror maze and caught a glimpse of my reflection. But it wasn't me. The person in the mirror looked like me, but their expression was all wrong. Cold, unfeeling, and staring back at me with an intensity that made my stomach turn. I stumbled away, my heart pounding. Then I saw the girl. She couldn't have been older than 10, with wild curls and a tear-streaked face. She was standing near the edge of the carnival, just beyond the glow of the lights, clutching a stuffed rabbit to her chest. "Hey," I said, walking over to her. "Are you okay?" She looked up at me, her eyes wide with fear. "You have to leave," she whispered. "What do you mean?" "They'll take you," she said. "They take everyone." "Who?" I asked. Before she could answer, there was a loud mechanical screech behind me. I turned to see the Ferris wheel grinding to a halt, its lights flickering wildly. When I turned back, the girl was gone. I don't know how long I wandered after that. Time didn't seem to work right in that place. Hours felt like minutes, and minutes felt like hours. Everywhere I went, I heard whispers, soft, urgent, and just out of reach. They seemed to be coming from the rides, the booths, even the very ground beneath my feet. And then I heard my name. It was faint at first, but it grew louder, more insistent, until it was everywhere. "Come closer," the voices whispered. "We've been waiting for you." I stumbled back, my head spinning. The lights of the carnival seemed to blur and twist, and for a moment I felt like I was falling. When I came to, I was standing in front of a tent I hadn't seen before. It was striped in black and red, and the entrance flapped open, as if inviting me in. I should have run, but I didn't. Inside, the tent was dark and cold, the air thick with the scent of decay. At the center was a circular platform, surrounded by mirrors. And in the mirrors, I saw them, the people of the carnival, trapped, screaming silently, their hands pressed against the glass. I realized then what the carnival was. It wasn't just a place, it was a trap, a living thing that lured people in and fed on them, leaving behind only hollow shells to play its games and keep its secrets. I don't know how I escaped. The next thing I remember, I was running through the woods, the carnival lights fading behind me. When I reached my car, the dirt path was gone. There was no sign of the carnival, just an empty clearing and the sound of the wind in the trees. It's been years since that night, but I still dream about it. Sometimes I hear the music, faint and far away, and I wonder if it's calling me back. If you ever see a sign for the Forgotten Carnival, take my advice. Keep driving, because once you go in, you might never come out.